الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله ذي الملك والملكوت ذي العزة والجبروت الحمد لله حي قيوم لا ينام عزيز لا يضام قهار لا يرام وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. يقول الباري سبحانه وتعالى بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. O you believe, fear Allah as He should be feared, and die not except on the state of Islam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most merciful, bestow upon us the gift to die on the state of Islam. Allahumma ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Baqarah, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, addressing in this particular ayah to the people of the book. However, this ayah is comprehensive for everyone, every humankind, and especially also for the believers. And the same ayah was addressed specifically for the believers later in the same surah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying, قَالَ وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ وَإِنَّهَا لَكَبِيرَةٌ إِلَّا عَلَى الْخَاشِعِينَ. اسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ, seek help through patience and prayer. وَإِنَّهَا لَكَبِيرَةٌ, it is difficult, it is a burden, except for those who are submissive and humble. إِلَّا عَلَى الْخَاشِعِينَ. قَالَ وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ وَإِنَّهَا لَكَبِيرَةٌ إِلَّا عَلَى الْخَاشِعِينَ. الاستعانة بالصبر والصلاة, to seek help through patience and prayer, is a necessity in the path of the believer. Is a necessity of firmness, is a necessity of traveling higher in the path of Allah, is a necessity to seek the nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the dynamic action of a believer in his iman, in his faith, when traveling to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, need to be through the seeking help, through the patience and through the prayer. The patience of the scholar, they say, is Malakul Huda, is the foundation, the holder, the core of the guidance. Because when someone has patience, has the ability to follow the truth, it becomes easy for them to follow the truth. And that patience helps a person to be in a way under the submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Islam, which is the submission, will not be able to be fulfilled without patience. So the patience is the core element that is kind of founding the submission itself. As for the salah, is the relation between the servant and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through which a person finds their strength, the strength of their heart, the connection of their soul, and the provision of their nafs. It is in the salah. So the necessity of seeking help through patience and salah, it is a necessity that every believer has to do it. However, the problem is how effective is the seeking of the help through the patience and the prayer. Because when people, they want to be patient, they want to go to the prayer, but they do not find that comfort, they do not find the help, they do not find that element that they help them truly to stand strong, to be closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to have the firmness. Why? Because there's an element, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the surah, قَالَ وَإِنَّهَا لَكَبِيرَةٌ, it's going to be difficult. وَإِنَّهَا لَكَبِيرَةٌ here, it's not the salat that is big or difficult. No. Kabira is what they have been commanded to observe and to follow the Prophet ﷺ and to submit to the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because when someone is on one path, and that path that they get used to it, they get the habit to be in it, they immerse themselves into it, therefore it's going to be difficult to remove themselves from that path. And that it becomes like to seek help through the prayer is something that requires great effort. So that prayer and patience to be able to change them, to help them, to give them that comfort, to give them that help. For that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَإِنَّهَا لَكَبِيرَةٌ. Now if you read the ayah before it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the element of this type of people who are the people of the book. that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addressing in the first chapter of the Surah Al-Baqarah. قال Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addressing to them, قال أتأمرون الناس بالبر وتنسون أنفسكم وأنتم تتلون الكتاب أفلا تعقلون. Are you ordering people or preaching righteousness and you forget yourself? وتنسون أنفسكم, and you are reciting the book. Do you not understand? In this ayah, we can draw from it three elements that, subhanAllah, affect the heart, which becomes an obstacle for a person to be able to find comfort or to get benefit of the great element that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala offers for the believer. Because as-sabr wa salah, it is kind of, subhanAllah, a flowing spring of blessing. A flowing spring of blessing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put it at the disposition of the believers to go and get from it your provision, get from it your blessing, get from it your comfort, get from it all what you need to have that peace of soul and have that joyful life is in the sabr and the salah. Therefore, we are putting, or people are putting, obstacle for themselves to not have able to get, subhanAllah, the benefit of this great sea of blessing or ocean, infinite ocean of blessing. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling in this ayah, قَالَ أَتَأْمُرُونَ النَّاسَ بِالْبِرِّ وَتَنْسَوْنَ أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ تَتْلُونَ الْكِتَابَ فَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. Three elements that affect the heart. The first element is, in this ayah, Allah showed to us that their heart is dead. Their heart, subhanAllah, does not have any life. Their heart is distorted. قَالَ تَأْمُرُونَ, because they think that they do like enjoining and ordering and preaching righteousness. When they forget themselves, the forgetting themselves, it's not in a way of cunning or plotting. The forgetting themselves because they cannot perceive it. Why? Because the heart is dead. The heart, it has perversity in it. The heart is gone. So these people are dead people. And this is not only limited to those that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addressed in His book in this ayah, to every one of us. The second element that drawn from this ayah is the fact that when they do such a thing, they have the certitude that they have the upper hand, that they are on the path of the truth, and everybody else is not on the path of the truth. And you see it today. You see it today in the conflict that's happening in Palestine. You see it today. So the certitude that the person that he is on the path of the truth, which is make them to disregard any other truth, and then in the same time to make the interpretation of the book according to their understanding of the truth. And this is the second element, which is like farther deviating them and making more heaven, subhanAllah, to dwell more perversity in their hearts. The third element is the inability of understanding the book and pondering on the book. Why? Because having the heart that has matmusa, having the heart that have perversity in it, they are not able to understand the book because they perceive the book according to their understanding of the truth, which is a crooked understanding. So you see how then the salah and patience can be of help for these people when their heart already filled with perversity. When they're enjoying good and preaching good and forgetting themselves and are not able to understand the book, to comprehend the book, to ponder on the book or on the revelation. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called from their cunning and their plotting, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make their heart to be hard in a way that they can change. قال سبحانه جعلنا قلوبهم قاسية يحرفون الكلمة عن مواضعه. They putting distortion and they changing the interpretation of the book. So as you see, your brother, respected sister, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you something to tap on, this ocean of a blessing, this spring, flowing spring of goodness, and you will not be able to get to it. Why? Because you made an obstacle between you and this great gift of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If we see the comprehensive element that led these people to do such an action, as Allah described them and describe us behind it, the perversity in their heart, is in reality this arrogance. This arrogance. Because we do understand the arrogance as being like, showing like, exaltedness or showing like superiority to other. But the Prophet ﷺ gave us the most beautiful and profound وَهُوَ الصَّادِقُ الْمَصْدُوقُ صلى الله عليه وسلم of the understanding of the meaning of arrogance. And he said, قال, the one who has the dust the weight of a dust in his heart of arrogance will not be admitted to paradise. Which means that someone is depriving himself or herself from tapping into this blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this sea of blessing which is into the patience and into the salah. قيل يا رسول الله, one of them, of the companions said, إن أحدنا, one of us, he wants to dress nice and to have the nice shoes and so on. So the Prophet ﷺ said, no, Allah is beautiful and loves beauty. That's not arrogance. Arrogance, قال بطر الحق وغمط الناس, is to reject the truth and to belittle people. That is. Now, there is a lot of way how the arrogance is manifested, by rejecting the truth, by, showing superiority, by seeking, the leadership over others, by, trying to have a power of others, and so on. However, if you make a comprehensive definition, because the most important for us is the type of arrogance that dwells into ourselves without knowing it and preventing us from benefiting from this seeking help of salah and sabr. A comprehensive definition is a habit that someone dwelling on it, that in a way, kind of, subhanAllah, defining their willpower and designing their dreams. That's the origin of arrogance. A habit, someone, subhanAllah, all their dream is to get the American dream, or their dream to get which is good. All of the dreams are good if you put them in the right perspective. But if they are not in the right perspective, in the dunyawi perspective, they are, subhanAllah, is leads you away from the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Someone wants to be rich. All this they dream, they think about, And subhanAllah, when they have this becomes like their willpower, their drive in life, is seeking to become rich. Their dream is rich. Someone wants to have studying and want to get a great job and everything. Everything is good. However, when you put it only in this limited, restrictive perspective of making a great salary, this becomes also something that someone, it's a habit. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us about the disbeliever, how they follow the path of their father. وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ تَعَالَوْا إِلَى مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ, come to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed. They said, we are follow what we have found our father follows. So we are follow the custom, we follow the tradition, we follow the culture, we follow the habit. What we have it, subhanAllah, we get, subhanAllah, get used to it. But what you have get used to it means that is good. And that is the problem here. So because when you get used to something, that is going to define your drive and is going to define your own dreams. Now, where does the arrogance manifest? When you call them to the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You say, what you're doing is not right. Wallahi is not right. All what you're thinking about your studies and everything to become rich, can you not even think about yourself or your goal of your life? It will not prevent you by, being successful in your business, by you being successful in your studies, by you successful in your life. It does not prevent you. But the shaitan is scanning to you and make you first seeming your deeds is the only way is to be let's say, adhering to this way of the secular way. And when the person, subhanAllah, finds it difficult with themselves to remove themselves from that particular habit, or it might be a desire, and that, subhanAllah, that struggle, inner struggle, lead them to try to justify what they are following is the truth. And it's fine. That is the arrogance. That is the manifestation of the arrogance. Because when someone say, for example, we have very small examples, say, brother, this is what you're doing is haram. Say, why is haram? Show me. Prove to me. That's arrogance. And when we have such manifestation, even small as this, then we are preventing ourselves from the seeking of the help, from that beautiful element that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has offered for us to elevate ourselves, to liberate ourselves, and to have that joyful and tranquility that everyone is looking for through the seeking help of as-sabr wa salah. And many people, subhanAllah, I will not dwell onto the example, but there is a lot of the example. Now, how the believer will be able to remove this obstacle. Why? Because after Ramadan, and we are in the months of the Hajj, and we are, inshallah, welcoming the Dhul Qa'dah, which is Dhahr, one, Ashur al-Hurum, and then Dhul Hijjah, and then the 10 days of Dhul Hijjah. All of that are the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon you. How are you doing with yourself? How are you maintaining your relation with Allah? How are you investing in all the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has offered you in Ramadan and after Ramadan, in Shawwal, in your fasting? How are you doing? If you're not seeking help through the patience and prayer, then you are neglecting yourself. You are immersing yourself in a path of neglectfulness and of heedlessness. And you are causing yourself to loss. For this reason, the believer, you have to ask yourself, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَإِنَّهَا لَكَبِيرًا. It's very difficult. Why is difficult? Because you do not have a relation with the salah. Why is difficult? Because you don't have a true relation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why is difficult? The heart have a perversity. Truly we have a perversity in our heart. Yes, look at the habit that you have. Look at the things that you're doing every day. And you cannot dissociate yourself. You cannot liberate yourself from it. It's really defining your drive. It's really defining your dreams. Even the people, or many of the youth who are immersed into those video games, it's not like the next games. It becomes like they drive. It's always, subhanAllah, the next thing. The next toy. It's futile, it's nothing, but it's taking away our heart. It's depriving us from tapping on the greatest gift that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you, which is the sabr on the salah. Someone will say sabr, say, how can we have sabr? I'll give some example, but we do not have the time to, inshallah, maybe another time. However, the believer, let's start. We say, you are a truthful believer, and you want to get advantage of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala offer you. To have the strength in your heart, to have the connection of your heart, of your soul, and to have the provision required for yourself to really have the firmness on the path and the strength in traveling to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because you are true believers. All of you who are truthful, you want to get to the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first thing that you need to say, because do we have this kibr, this type of arrogance that I have mentioned? We don't know, it is hidden. How can we discover it? Ask yourself the first question. How much you feel the need to the prayer? How much? This is going to uncover the inner of our soul. People, they don't even pray. People, they don't even want, subhanAllah, it's at Dhuhr time or Asr time, it's like struggling to just pray. Therefore, we don't have that need. You don't feel drawn to the prayer. The Prophet ﷺ قال إذا حزبه شيء قام إلى الصلاة. Anything that befell of the Prophet ﷺ, he rushed to the prayer. So the prayer, subhanAllah, in which he finds, as Allah put in, is the delight of his heart, the comfort, the connection. It's what you get all your strength, all you get, like, subhanAllah, your identity, your strength, your life, your dynamic drive, all of it is from the salah. So if inside us, when you ask, how much do I need the salah? Look at yourself, just glance at your day. You'll have the answer. And the more need you have the salah, the more understanding you have of yourself. Why? Because you are monitoring yourself. You have such a desire that is taking, subhanAllah, away some of your khushu', taking a lot of your energy. It's really bothering you. It's keeping you, make you distant from Allah. What are you going to do? You're going to rush to the prayer. Ya Allah, help me. I need you, Ya Allah, to help me. To turn away from this desire. It's killing me. That's how you know yourself. But if in the day you don't even think about the prayer, then you don't have any relation with Allah. Then all the blessing, all the spring flowing of blessing and goodness that Allah prepared for you for sabr and salah is there for you. You're not taking advantage of it. You turn away from it. That's when you ask your question, then you realize, you put yourself, be sincere. Yes, I'm far. I need to work for it. So, how can we work for it? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told in the sayah, قَالَ إِلَّا الْخَاشَ. Al-khash is the humble person. And the humble is not the one who finds the khushu' in the salah. No, the humble is an overall, way of life. You are a humble person. You are showing humility to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every aspect of your life. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala قال إلا الخاشع, الخاشع, the humble one. And when he mentioned the khasha, قال الذين يظنون أنهم ملاقو ربهم وأنهم إليه راجعون. Those who have the certainty that they're going to meet Allah and to Him they're going to return. Here, your life is changed. If you build the khushu' through the certitude that you're going to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then the core of your life will change. Everything that is going to be self-exposure or coming to you or thinking about or planning into your life, all of it is going to be then connected with meeting Allah. You're going to say, if this is going to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or not. I'm wondering. Why? Because when you wake up in the morning, you think of Allah. When you say Allahu Akbar, you think meeting Allah. When you finish your prayer to go to your work or your study, you're thinking of Allah, you're asking Him, you trust in Him, you're relying. When you go to bed, you're going to die, you think of Allah. Therefore your project, your plans, everything, it has Allah in it. Then obviously this salat and the sabr becomes obvious, because you're going to say, Ya Allah help me, Ya Allah I'm relying on you, Ya Allah help me to increase me in dhikr, Ya Allah help me to be closer to you. That's subhanallah. For this reason in the second ayah, the qala, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, or you believe, seek help through patience and prayer. Allah is with those who are patient. So Allah is giving you glad tidings, not like the first ayah. Why? Because your drive here is seeking the help of Allah, because you believe. He didn't say khasha because you're already khasha. Allah gave the believer the gift of humbleness by having that tazkiyah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala conferred to us as a gift from the reciting of the Prophet ﷺ of the ayat and his wisdom. يَتْلُو عَلَيْكُمْ آيَاتِهِ وَيُزَكِّيكُمْ وَيُعَلِّمُكُمُ الْكِتَابَ وَالْحِكْمَةِ. The second element, when you make your core of your life and the objective is Allah, because you are certain you're going to meet Him. I mean, if you have a dinner tonight and you're certain you're going to meet, you're going to prepare for your dinner. Every time you look at your watch to not come late, if you have something to get there, so you are focused. This is the meaning. I mean, look at the very details of our life. And if you relate to your relation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you find it becomes obvious. How come tomorrow you're going to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you don't think even to meet Him or to make zikr for Him? Therefore we are far from Allah. We need to be frank. That's why you need to the prayer and cover for you your relation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and how much you know your own self. So the first element is to drive or to make, as we have explained it, that the salat and the sabr becomes something obvious. Why? Because everything you do, you seek in the pleasure of Allah. Why? Because you are certain you're going to meet Allah. From the morning to the end of the day, you are with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you just pray your 5 prayer and you make in the dhikr between the prayer, you will be one of the khashi'in. The second element is very important. The second element, dear brother, respected sister, is to check how much your heart is firm on the truth. Now, subhanAllah, in this time of confusion, are you sure that you are on the path of the truth? You see, subhanAllah, how the distortion of realities and everything. Now, being on the path of the truth, that was going to guarantee to you the path of the guidance. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, in fact, the Prophet ﷺ, when he started his Qiyamul Layl, he used to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide him to the truth concerning the disputes that the people that they have. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ used to say, فَيَقُولُ اللَّهُمَّ رَبَّ جِبْرِيلَ وَمِيكَائِيلَ وَإِسْرَافِيلَ عالم الغيب والشهادة أنت تحكم بين عبادك فيما كانوا فيه يختلفون اهدني إلى الحق اهدني لما اختلف فيه من الحق بإذنك. Or the Lord of Jibreel and Israfil and Mikael, the knower of the seen and the unseen, you are the one who is going to judge between your people, between your servant in what they have differed. Guide me to the path of the truth concerning they disputed that they had. So there are things, subhanAllah, ikhtilaf, there's differences. And these differences, when you are not on the path of the truth, you might, subhanAllah, lose the path. And by losing the path, losing the guidance. And here the Prophet ﷺ teaching us how you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be always on the truth. Because many people, and this is actually one of the side of the arrogance, when you think that you are certainly on the truth. My opinion is the opinion. My opinion should prevail because it's the truth. That's actually arrogance. So the Prophet ﷺ teaching us how you ask Allah, and it's actually an interpretation in ayah of Surah Al-Baqarah. Once the whole humankind was in one religion, then they differ, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent His Prophet and Messenger with the book to judge between them, and only people who differ after clear proof has presented to them because of the animosity and jealousy. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَهَدَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, Allah guided the believers, guided the believer to all, to save them from all these differences. So one of the aspects that the believer to be able to take advantage of patience and salat, to always his heart to be awake, seeking the truth. And seeking the truth is to love the truth, to stand for the truth, to fight for the truth, to advocate for the truth. And this is the truth that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala presented in His Quran. When Imam Ahmed rahimahullah ta'ala, he was asked in the time of the difficulties, when the creation of the Quran, they told him, أَلَا تَرَى أَنَّ الْحَقَّ قَدْ ظَهَرَ عَلَيْهِ الْبَاطِلِ, don't you see that falsehood is manifesting over the truth? He said, no such a thing is happening. He said, only this happens when the hearts are shifting from guidance to misguidance. And he said, our heart is still firm on the truth. So wallahi, dear brother, respected sisters, if the whole world changed into misguidance, as long as your heart is still firm on the truth, then you are safe. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if there is no one in the whole universe except you on the truth, He will save you. So do not be deluded by the number. Do not be deluded by the power. Actually, what you should be only focusing on, to have that power of blessing to be immersed in you, and to have it to be taken advantage of it, is to have that heart is always lazim lil-haq. The third point is your inner relation between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This relation must first be based on patience, then manifested through the supplication, the dua and the prayer. Why is based on patience? Because the patience, what make you humble, and patience, what make you someone to know how to wait and not to hasten, and patience help you to defeat that part of the self which always a craving for desires. So when you forget the part of that self, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will provide for you, will benefit you. And this is the sabr. So when you have that base of the sabr in relationship with you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then you're going to build that true tarbiyah. And this true tarbiyah, it subhanAllah is going to be manifested in a genuine love between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when it's see on the principle of radiyallahu anhum wa radu an. Allah is pleased with them and they are pleased with Him. Which is mean, when you come to Allah, you might love something, you might, subhanAllah, you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for it, but Allah didn't give it to you. So it's not gonna make you happy. Why? Because you know that Allah chose for you what is good for you. Then you are pleased with Allah, and Allah is pleased with you. So radiyallahu anhum wa radu an, this is the element or the connection of the genuine true love between the servant and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is based on sabr. Look at the dua of Ayyub alayhi salam. Ayyub in Surah Al-Anbiya, and all of you know the dua, قال وَأَيُّوبَ إِذْ نَادَى رَبَّهُ أَنِّي مَسَّنِيَ الضُّرُّ وَأَنْتَ أَرْحَمُ الرَّاحِمِينَ. Ayyub, remember Ayyub when he called upon his Lord, saying, "Oh Allah, adversity has touched me and you are the most merciful, Ya Allah." This is the dua. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ, we have answered him right away. Where is the key of the dua? Where's the key of the dua? I mean, we can say the same thing million times and no answer might come. What is the key of the dua? What is the heart, the core of the dua? It's in the words that Ayub said, or in another element into the ayah. Dear brothers, sisters, is a totally different element that is the content of the dua. It is when Ayub, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قال, behold, Ayub called his Lord. The key is in Rabbah, his Lord. That relation that we have built. That relation of nearness, that relation of closeness, of understanding, of knowing Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rabbah. It's like, Ya Rabbi, my Rabb. That relation of strength, of humility, of humbleness, of closeness, of nearness, of tranquility, of love, of compassion. That Rabbah. It's not the content of the dua. وَأَيُّوبَ إِذْ نَادَى رَبَّهُ. It's like, some kid calling to his mother. What do you think the mother is going to do when he's in distress? وَأَيُّوبَ إِذْ نَادَى رَبَّهُ أَنِّي مَسَّنِيَ الضُّرُّ. And Allah listening. وَأَنْتَ أَرْحَمُ الرَّحِيمِينَ. فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ. Therefore, the relation between Ayub and his Lord was based on patience. And that patience from which subhanAllah rises and grows all the blessing of the nearness and the love of the compassion. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling you in the next ayah, قال وإسماعيل وإدريس وذا الكفل كل من الصابرين. All of them from the patient ones. So the base is the patience. Forget about yourself. You want to be millionaire? If Allah won't know that being millionaire for you is good, He will make you billionaire. So forget about yourself. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, waliyuk. He's your protector. He's your safeguarder. He's the one who wants all the goodness for you. So why you are striving and fighting? I want this, I want this. Ask for it in a very great manner. If Allah does not give it to you, say, Alhamdulillah, radiyallahu anhum wa radu anhu. That's the meaning. And even Yunus, when he was trapped, look the ayat. He didn't say, La ilaha illallah, subhanak. He said, La ilaha illa anta, you, ya Allah. Look the relation. There is a relation. There is a talk. There is a live conversation. He didn't say, La ilaha illa, قال فنادى في الظلمات أن لا إله إلا الله. Subhanak. No, he did, illa anta. There is no God except you, ya Allah. I'm addressing to you. This is the key. This is how patience becomes a strength. This is how prayer becomes the delight of the eye. This is how you can get the blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه الغفور الرحيم. بسم الله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على النبي المصطفى أما بعد. استعينوا بالصبر والصلاة. As a believer, is a necessity for the believer to seek help into patience, learn patience, make the patience as a morality, as a conduct, as a behavior, and the salat, seek in it as subhanallah your comfort, seek in it your strength, seek in it whatever subhanallah you need, because the salat is your relation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A last element which is important to conclude all of this, because when you make your core of your life based on the certitude that you're going to meet Allah, then the patience and the prayer becomes part of the drive of your life, one of the tools of your life, because salat is not an objective in its end. The salat and patience are means for you to get nearer to Allah, to get that comfort, to get that joy, to get that strength, to get that firmness. And then to always be awake and to be like mindful of the truth. That's also going to keep you firm on the right path. Then the relation of Allah, like the example of Ayub that we have mentioned, that is the key of the life and the journey to Allah. The last point is your test in following the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because everyone has their own culture, their own background, their credential, and it can subhanallah be detrimental in certain situations. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the example of the Qibla. Allah changed the Qibla from Baytul Maqdis to Mecca. And it was very hard for certain people because you say, Qala Kabira, the same thing, it was difficult. How can we change the Qibla? This is not possible. So truly the people of the book, what they're saying is right. Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam being now, kind of favoring tribalism. He wants Mecca to be the center of everything. And subhanAllah, this is what's happening today in Palestine. It's the same. Changing things. So why they did, the muqawwah becomes like the resistance is the worst of the people. For other people are the best of the people. And this is the truth that you want to find as peaceful into your heart because it does not require interpretation. It's very clear. قال وما جعلنا القبلة التي كنت عليها إلا لنعلم من يتبع الرسول ممن ينقلب عليه عاقبه. We only made the Qibla that you had before to know afterward who truly is going to follow the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم. وإنها لكبيرة, and it is difficult and burden except for those who guided, Allah guided. Therefore, dear brother, respected sister, the one who Allah guided, he's the first one who's the humble one, connected. You cannot be guided if you don't bring humble. And between them is to seek help through the patience, the salah, the flowing blessing, the infinite ocean of goodness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us from, help us to be true, genuine, truthful followers of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and help us to always seek help through patience and prayer and to be effective in our life, Ya Rabb al-Alameen. اللهم اجعلنا من عبادك الصالحين يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم يا كريم ويا رحمن يا رحيم أنزع من قلوبنا الكبر. اللهم نقي قلوبنا يا أرحم الراحمين وطهرها من النفاق ومن الكبر يا رب العالمين. اللهم ثبتنا على صراطك المستقيم واجعلنا من عبادك الخاشعين الذين يستعينون بالصبر والصلاة. اللهم اجعلنا من الذين يوقنون بلقائك يا كريم يا رحمن يا رحيم. اللهم لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا أجمعين دقها وشقها صغيرها وكبيرها ما علمنا منها وما لم نعلم. اللهم انصر إخواننا في غزة يا رب العالمين. اللهم انصرهم بنصرك. اللهم أفرغ عليهم صبرك. اللهم أفرغ عليهم صبرا وثبت أقدامهم وانصرهم على القوم المعتدين. اللهم آمن روعاتهم واستر عوراتهم وسد جوعتهم وانصرهم نصرا مؤزرا إنك القوي الناصر العزيز يا رب العالمين. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين وأقم الصلاة يرحمكم الله.